She said it softly, like she was thinking out loud. If my ex were here, he would have bought me a diamond ring, she sighed, turning her hand under the kitchen light. The ring I'd given her, simple, clean, exactly what she'd once said she liked, caught a dull reflection. She didn't look at me when she said it. She was studying the stone, weighing it against a memory. The kettle clicked off behind us. Steam curled into the air, carrying the faint smell of metal and tap water. Outside, a car passed, tires hissing over damp pavement. Everything else went quiet. My heart didn't shatter all at once. It cracked the way glass does when the pressure finally finds the weakest point. Slow, precise, irreversible. I felt it in my chest, a tightness that made my breathing shallow. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't ask why she was still measuring her life against someone who wasn't in it anymore. I said nothing. My name is Andrew. I'm 28 years old. I work as a site coordinator for a small construction firm, which mostly means I plan carefully, save patiently, and try to make sure things are ready before they're needed. That ring hadn't been an impulse. It was months of overtime, skipped lunches, quiet budgeting on Sunday nights while she watched shows beside me, unaware of what I was building toward. She slipped the ring off and placed it on the counter between us, absent-mindedly, like it was just another object taking up space. I didn't mean it like that, she added, too quickly. You know how I talk. I nodded. I'd nodded a lot in this relationship. I nodded when she compared. I nodded when she minimized. I nodded when discomfort was framed as honesty and honesty was framed as my problem. A memory drifted in without asking. Us at a mall months earlier, passing a jewelry store, her stopping to stare through the glass. My ex always said diamonds were an investment, she'd said then, laughing. I'd laughed too, pretending it didn't lodge itself somewhere deep. I picked up the ring. It felt heavier than it had any right to. Cool metal against my palm. Solid. Real. I turned it once, the way I had a dozen times before when I was deciding whether it was good enough. I'm going to run an errand, I said, my voice steady enough to pass. She didn't look up from her phone. Okay, she said. Grab milk if you're out. The door closed behind me with a soft, final click. The hallway smelled like old carpet and cleaning solution. My footsteps sounded too loud, like the building itself was listening. Outside, the air was cold, sharp against my face. I sat in the car for a moment without starting it, hands resting on the steering wheel, feeling the quiet press in. I drove to the jewelry store without thinking. Familiar route. Red lights. Green lights. A radio playing low, a song about commitment I turned off halfway through. Inside the store, the lighting was bright and unforgiving, every surface polished to reflect certainty. The clerk recognized me. He smiled. Everything okay? He asked, already reaching for the receipt. Yes, I said. And in a strange way, it was true. When I handed the ring back, my fingers didn't shake. The transaction was clean. Efficient. The way endings often are when you stop fighting them. The clerk slid the box away. The counter looked empty without it. By the time I got back to the car, my phone buzzed once. A message from her. Did you get the milk? I stared at the screen. The sky was already darkening, streetlights flickering on one by one. Somewhere inside the quiet of that moment, something settled. Not anger. Not triumph. Resolve. She had no idea what had just happened. And when she finally realized, she was going to call me. I didn't go straight home after the store. I sat in the car with the engine running, heat blowing warm air that smelled faintly of dust and rubber. The refund receipt lay folded in the cup holder, thin paper carrying more weight than it should. I watched people come and go through the windshield. Couples walking close, someone laughing into their phone, a man unlocking his bike with practiced ease. Life continuing, unconcerned with the quiet shift that had just taken place inside me. When I finally drove back, the apartment lights were on. Yellow, familiar. The kind of glow that usually meant safety. I carried the milk inside because she'd asked, because habits are stubborn even when meaning drains out of them. She was on the couch, legs tucked under her, scrolling. The TV murmured something forgettable. "Hey," she said without looking up. That was quick. I put the milk in the fridge. Closed the door carefully. The kitchen smelled like the tea she'd made earlier, chamomile and sugar. I sat across from her, hands folded loosely, heart beating steady now, like it had accepted new instructions. She glanced at my hands, then back to her phone. "Where's the ring?" she asked casually, like she was asking about her charger. "I returned it," I said. The words hung there, simple and unadorned. She laughed once, sharp. "Very funny." "I'm serious," I said. Her smile faded. She sat up, eyes narrowing as if trying to focus on something that shouldn't be blurry. "Why would you do that?" I thought about how to answer honestly without turning it into an argument. I thought about how many times I'd rehearsed explanations in my head, trying to land on the perfect combination of calm and convincing. "Because you told me it wasn't enough," I said. "I didn't say that," she replied quickly. "I was just expressing a thought. You're so sensitive about everything." There it was. Familiar. Predictable. I remembered another night, months back, standing in this same room after she joked to friends that I was safe but boring. I'd smiled then, too. Told myself not to overreact. Told myself love meant tolerance. "I'm not sensitive," I said. "I'm paying attention." She stood up now, pacing. The room filled with the soft sound of her socks against the floor. "So you just decided this on your own? No discussion?" "I didn't need one," I said. Her voice sharpened. "You don't get to punish me because I was honest." "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm choosing." She stopped pacing and stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. "Choosing what?" "Not to keep investing in something that keeps comparing me to someone else," I said. Silence settled between us, thick and uncomfortable. The TV kept talking. A laugh track somewhere in the background felt obscene. She crossed her arms. "So what, you're breaking up with me over a ring?" I shook my head slowly. Over what it represented. She scoffed, reaching for her phone. "This is unbelievable. You're really going to regret this." I didn't respond. I watched her type furiously, thumbs flying, crafting a version of events that would make sense to someone else. I wondered who she was texting. A friend. Her sister. Maybe him. The thought didn't sting the way it used to. Minutes passed. She finally looked up, eyes glossy but hard. "I can't believe you'd do this without even talking to me." "I tried talking," I said quietly. "For a long time." She grabbed her keys, movements sharp, exaggerated. "I'm going out," she said. "I need air." "Okay," I said. The door slammed. The sound echoed down the hallway and then faded. I sat there alone, the apartment settling back into its normal hum. The fridge clicked on. A pipe knocked somewhere above. I felt tired, but not hollow. I picked up my phone and turned it face down on the table. For the first time that night, I realized I wasn't waiting anymore. She didn't come back that night. I noticed the time only because the apartment grew quieter in stages. First the traffic thinned, the steady wash of sound outside fading into occasional engines passing through. Then the building itself seemed to settle. Pipes ticking as heat moved, a neighbor's door closing somewhere down the hall. Midnight arrived without ceremony. Her side of the bed stayed untouched, the pillow smooth, the faint scent of her shampoo lingering in the air like a question no longer waiting for an answer. I slept lightly, waking whenever a sound shifted. At one point, rain started, tapping against the window in uneven bursts. I lay there watching shadows move across the ceiling from passing headlights, thinking about how many nights I'd done this before. Waiting, listening, telling myself patience was proof of love. By morning, the rain had stopped. Pale light crept into the room, dull and honest. My phone was still face down on the table where I'd left it. I turned it over slowly, already expecting what I found. Missed calls. 4 of them. Then messages. "Why would you embarrass me like that? Do you have any idea how this makes you look? You didn't even give me a chance to explain." I read them once, then set the phone down again. The words felt loud but hollow, like someone knocking on a door they no longer lived behind. A memory drifted in as I made coffee. The smell of burnt grounds filling the kitchen. Us standing in line at a restaurant months earlier. Her spotting her ex across the room and stiffening. "Don't make this weird," she'd whispered before I'd even said anything. I remembered shrinking myself then, pretending neutrality was maturity. The coffee machine hissed and clicked. I poured a cup and didn't drink it right away. She came back late morning, keys rattling too hard in the lock. Her eyes were red, not from crying so much as lack of sleep. She dropped her bag by the door and stood there, arms loose at her sides, as if she'd rehearsed what to say and lost it on the walk in. "So," she said. "That's it." I leaned against the counter. The kitchen smelled like coffee and rain-damp air from the open window. "I think it's been it for a while," I said. Her jaw tightened. "You're acting like I betrayed you." "I'm acting like I heard you," I replied. "That was one comment," she said. "One stupid comment." I nodded. "That landed on top of a lot of others." She laughed. Brittle. "You're really throwing everything away over pride." I thought of the receipt in my car, of the careful months of saving, of the way she'd sighed while holding the ring already elsewhere. "This isn't pride," I said. "It's self-respect." That word seemed to hit something raw. She stepped closer, voice lowering. "You think you're better than me now?" "No," I said. "I think I'm done competing with someone who isn't even here." She stared at me, searching for hesitation, for a crack she could press on. When she didn't find one, her expression shifted, not angry now but unsettled. "You didn't even give me a chance to fix it," she said quietly. I met her eyes. "I don't want to be fixed into a version that works for you." Silence stretched between us. Outside, a delivery truck idled, engine rumbling, then pulled away. The world kept moving, indifferent. She looked around the apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. The shared photos. The couch we'd picked together. "So what happens now?" she asked. "We separate our things," I said. "We stop pretending." Her shoulders slumped slightly. "You're really serious." "I was serious when I bought the ring," I said. "This is just honesty catching up." She didn't argue after that. She went to the bedroom and started pulling clothes from drawers, movements slower now, less dramatic. I stayed in the kitchen, listening to hangers slide, drawers open and close. Each sound felt like punctuation. By the time she left again, this time with a suitcase, the apartment felt altered, not empty, but recalibrated. I stood by the window and watched her walk down the street without looking back. My chest tightened briefly, then released. Not relief exactly. Acceptance. Whatever call was coming next, I already knew one thing. I wasn't going to undo what I'd finally done right. The call came 2 days later, late evening, when the apartment had settled into that low, steady quiet that only comes after you stop expecting someone else to walk through the door. I was washing a single plate in the sink, warm water running over my hands, the smell of soap sharp and clean. My phone vibrated against the counter, skidding slightly before stopping. Her name lit the screen. I didn't rush to answer. I turned off the tap first, dried my hands, took one breath that filled my chest instead of catching halfway like it used to. Then I picked up. Her voice came through tight, rehearsed calm wrapped around something unsteady. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "Tell you what?" I said. "That you returned the ring," she replied. "I had to find out from the store. I went back today. They told me it was already done." I leaned against the counter and looked around the kitchen. The empty chair, the clean surface, the quiet holding steady. "You were holding it when you compared me to your ex," I said. "I thought that told me everything." She exhaled sharply. "I didn't think you'd actually do it. I thought you'd talk to me. Get upset. Fight for it." There it was. The expectation laid bare. "I wasn't trying to win an argument," I said. "I was deciding whether I wanted to stay." Silence filled the line, not dropped. Placed. In the background, I could hear traffic, a muffled horn, life continuing where she was. I imagined her standing somewhere unfamiliar, phone pressed to her ear, realizing something had moved without her consent. "You embarrassed me," she said finally. I closed my eyes briefly. "I protected myself." She scoffed. "From what?" "One comment." I remembered the nights I'd swallowed discomfort. The way comparison had become background noise. The slow erosion of feeling chosen. "From the version of myself that would have apologized for hearing you clearly," I said. Her tone softened then, just enough to sound reasonable. "I didn't mean it the way you took it." "I know," I replied. "That's the problem." Another pause. Longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice wavered. "So that's it. You're really done." I thought about the ring, now back in the store's drawer. About the money returning to my account, stripped of symbolism. About how light my chest felt when I imagined the future without measuring myself against a ghost. "Yes," I said. "I am." She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just went quiet, the way people do when they realize persuasion isn't coming. "You didn't even give me a chance to miss you," she said, almost to herself. "I've been missing myself for a while," I said. The call ended without a goodbye. I stood there for a moment, phone still in my hand, listening to the low hum of the refrigerator. Outside, rain started again, soft this time, tapping against the window with no urgency. I rinsed the plate, set it in the rack, and wiped the counter clean. Over the next week, the practical things sorted themselves out. Accounts untangled. Boxes moved. Messages slowed, then stopped. A few friends checked in. Some didn't. I learned which silences felt peaceful and which ones were simply absence. One night, I went for a walk after dinner. The air was cool, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and leaves. Streetlights cast long shadows that stretched and broke with each step. I realized I wasn't replaying the conversation anymore. I wasn't drafting better responses in my head. The story had reached its end without my permission, and without my regret. Back home, I opened the drawer where the ring box had been and left it empty. An intentional space. I sat on the couch and let the quiet settle, not as something to fill, but something to keep. I didn't lose love that day. I recovered my self-respect.